Quite Scottish Football Show. This week's show, as ever, is recorded live and uncensored in Hong Kong, home of the worst background noise in the world. This show features my dog shuffling around like an old man, canto pop of the highest shitness, buses going past, air cons whizzing, and of course the apocalyptic noise of my neighbours putting their bins out every 13 seconds. My guest and I today will be talking about the forthcoming Scotland-England match and reviewing the various cup finals that have taken place since the last show. Remember, you can catch up with the show by accessing it on our Facebook page, Not Quite Scottish, and there you can also leave feedback. Again, our aim is to make the show as interactive as possible, so all of your comments, suggestions for content and feedback are welcome. But for now, enjoy the show and thanks for listening. So my guest today is Mr. Nick Preston. Thank you very much for joining us on the Not Quite Scottish Football Show.
No problem.
And Nick, before we get torn into our main talking points, as with any non-Scottish guest on the show, we just need to establish your credentials. Are you truly Susan Boyle-esque in your virginal knowledge of Scottish football, or have you popped your cherry and become a Scottish football slut? To find out, I'm going to fire some Scottish place names at you. You have to tell me whether these are genuine articles or products of my warped, smutty imagination.
Fire away.
So your starter for 10, the town of Boring.
Genuine.
It is genuine, but it's not Scottish. Yeah. The town is in Oregon in the USA and is twinned with the town of Dull in Scotland. Very nicely done. The next one, my favourite, the Norks of Jura.
That sounds Scottish. That's got to be true.
Again, not quite correct, but pap is an Old Norse word for breast, and the paps of Jura do look like a pair of breasts, although their nipples are much less hairier than those of the local women. Our next one is the town of Twat.
Definitely Scottish.
It's a place on the island of Orkney, and the next one is my favourite, Bottom Burn.
Do you know what? That's too good to be true. I don't think that's true.
That one is genuine, and genuinely an inch and a half away from the town of Fannyburn on the map.
Fantastic.
You can't make it up. The next one is the Fucker.
They've all been true so far, so I'm going to say not a correct place.
It's not true, of course, but there is a mountain on the Isle of Arran called the Bastard.
Excellent.
I'm assuming it's a fairly easy climb. And the last one, the town of Farted.
Again, I'm going to go true.
Okay. It's not, but in Aberdeenshire there's a predictably posher town called Broken Wind. I'm fairly sure it's Broken Wind, but for the purposes of smut, it kind of works. So I'm sure we're agreed that little test in no way tested whether you know anything about Scottish football, right?
Not at all.
Okay, but it was mildly entertaining. So after what might have been the least efficient way of testing whether you have a working knowledge of the Scottish game, we're just going to have to take your word for it. So, Nick, the question remains: Brazil, Germany, Argentina, Spain, Italy. I could go on. There's so many great countries. Why on earth did you choose to support England?
Because I'm English.
That's a very sage reason to do so. And taking it back to all things Scotland, who's your favourite Scottish footballer?
Of all time or today?
All time.
Brian McClare.
Wow, we've got the Brian McClare Club on the Not Quite Scottish Football Show. And who is the worst Scottish player you've ever seen?
Without shadow of a doubt, Ralph Milne.
Ralph Milne, a favourite at Dundee United, but
again, I believe until he came to Man United, he was a fantastic player.
Yeah, he was a success.
We never saw it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. We have 2 United fans on so far, and no one has said Gorham when he was at United.
Andy Gorham was a great goalkeeper at the end of the day.
True. Dreadful at United, though.
Well, he was about 49 or
That's
something.
quite true.
So, and 49 stone at the same time. So.
Yeah, and there were 2 of them, of course. And who's your all-time favourite England player?
All-time favourite, Gary Neville. Okay. That by no means suggests he's the one I think is the best. Best England player I've ever seen, Paul Gascoigne, and actually gets a tie for my favourite.
I would go along with that, actually. And the worst you've seen play for England?
Oh, it's got to be Carlton Palmer.
Carlton Palmer, indeed. And in your heart of hearts, have you ever in your lifetime genuinely believed that England have a shot at winning a major tournament?
Every single one. Up until about 3 days before,
Yeah.
I'm sensible, and I know they've got no chance in hell.
Even the one where they got pumped by Sweden?
Every single one. 3 days before, something clicks in, it's like becoming drunk, and I go out and put a bet, and I instantly believe we're suddenly going to all click together and win everything we ever play in. I'm stupid.
And what was your most memorable experience watching England?
Probably Paul Gascoigne's goal against Scotland, Euro 96.
It was a peach, but go fuck yourself.
5-1 against Germany, that was great.
Even I enjoyed that.
Of course the Germans don't think it counts because it was a friendly.
So an out of 10, how good would you say your knowledge of the Scottish game is?
Not good. 2. Back in the day, it would have been better. Yeah. If you remember when the BBC used to show Scottish football. We're going back a long time ago
when
now.
They lost match of the day.
Yeah.
And if you could sum up the national game in Scotland in 3 words, which 3 words would you choose?
Woeful.
Mm-hmm.
Dire.
Uh-huh.
Pitiful.
Oh, that's actually the marketing slogan for the game. Okay, so let's crack on with the show. Okay, so our first talking point for this section of the show is the various finals, playoff finals, cup finals that have taken place this week. No finer place to start than the Scottish Cup final. I know you didn't watch it. You probably did the right thing. My team Aberdeen were fantastic. Probably should have won it. I feel if they had scored the excellent chances they had at the time they could have, they might have gone on to find some legs and kind of deal with the onslaught from Celtic towards the end. One of the bits of minor fallout from that was Rodgers doing an interview. My friend Craig, who listens to the show, kindly pointed this out. Rodgers did an interview where he said if Celtic were playing in England, they would be a top 4 team every year. Any thoughts on this?
Absolute rubbish.
In what regard?
I'll be honest with you. You know, I don't have a problem with Celtic being a reasonably good side. I don't know if you know this, but my Scottish team is Aberdeen. Probably the Alex Ferguson connection more than anything else. And Gordon Strachan was a big hero of mine back in the day. And I wanted Aberdeen to win it, but Brendan Rodgers has done one hell of a job there. I mean, he's not a bad manager. As a person, I'm not sure if I like him that much. Probably the Liverpool connection more than anything else.
I mean, this Celtic in the top 4 thing has got in England. Sorry, it's gone around the block for as long as I can remember. But for me, like, just having a 60,000 seat stadium doesn't make you a giant anymore. You know, Arsenal are 5th with a 60,000 seater. West Ham have got one now. It remains to be seen what they can do.
I think 20 years ago there might have been a talking point. I think today, if you'd put Celtic in the Premier League 10 years ago, with the size of their fan base, with the money that's now in football, they'd be competitive. But the current squad he's got in the Premier League, not a chance.
Well, again, the same listener, Craig, he pointed out the players who have left Celtic in the past, almost entirely looking through the past, have gone on to mid to low ranking English teams, you know.
I remember having a bet with somebody about Gary Hooper was going to come over and rip the Premier League apart. He was going to be top scorer, and I bet him £1,000 because I was so confident he wouldn't. He never paid me, obviously.
Oh, understandable.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Victor Wanyama, I think he's come over and done okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, he went to like a lower team to build up. So switching our attention to the FA Cup final, Arsenal were incredible. There's no two ways about it.
No, they were.
Very sparse defence. When Koscielny did his kung fu tackle the week before, it was clear they were up against it.
Yep, no two ways about it as well. It was a red. It was a card, right?
Yeah, and Mertesacker came in. I was all over this podcast the previous week talking about how they were screwed. They had no chance. As it goes, he was probably somewhere near man of the match.
Yeah.
Ozil defended. Ramsey played.
Yeah.
Xhaka didn't kill anyone. All round a very good performance. The question, of course, that this begs: Wenger, does it merit the extension of the contract?
I'm a fan of Wenger, and this is strange because if you'd asked me 10 years ago who would be my favourite person to shoot in the head, it might have been Arsene Wenger. I as a Man United fan, when there was such a big rivalry, I couldn't stand the guy.
I felt the same with Ferguson with Arsenal. It was telling as to how far Arsenal had fallen that I grew to like Ferguson.
Exactly the same with Wenger. And I mean, you've got to respect the guy. He's been around a long, long time. I think a lot of the time he gets a bad rep when commercially he's been sensational for that club, right? He's built the stadium. He's always made top four until this year.
Until this year.
And that's a big achievement. It's not one that the fans want, but it's one that the club needs. If you're going to remain competitive... let's rearrange that. Historically, if you were going to remain competitive, until all this ridiculous TV money came in, it was the most important thing to finish in the top four of the Champions League. Now it doesn't matter so much.
For sure. With Wenger, of course, like for me, the big issue I have with him is, sure, he's made this transition to a back three, but he's not made that change for a specific game or specific tactics. It's the inability to change within a game. So now he's moved to a back three. We do a back three no matter who we play. In the past, it was this kind of odd diamond four no matter who we played. And for me, that's why I wasn't a big fan of his contract renewal. I'm happy for him to have a season to see how this system works. Whether there is a turn of cheek and he decides he's going to be open to new ideas at the club, we'll wait and see. And did you watch the playoffs?
I saw some of them. I saw the Championship playoff.
Oh, it was dreadful.
It was terrible.
Oh, fuck. I was close to sleep. I'd spent the day, I said to my wife, I was like, I'm going to watch this game. She's like, you have no interest in either of the teams. I said, I've watched this game ever since I was a kid. Every year it's good. And it was awful.
It was terrible.
Yeah. The Scottish one the day before was absolutely horrific. Whichever of those teams were in the Premier League, it was a good advert for the 12 points that Aberdeen were going to get off them.
Yeah.
Well, 9 because they were going to finish in the lower half. But they were so bad. Obviously, one little thing we'd like to introduce to the show is the Hong Kong Premier League. Summary of that. It's still shit.
So I've never watched a game.
Still shit. We should really go and watch a game, but it's shit and the season's finished and no one gives a toss. So that ends the Hong Kong season review.
Fair enough.
So next up today, Nick, we have the England-Scottish quiz.
Excellent.
Quite a challenge. We'll see how you do. Our contestant last week, Luke, obviously struggled gamely in the Manchester United quiz. Your first question, starter for 10. Who was the last player to score for England against Scotland whilst plying his trade in Scotland?
Wow. We're going back a long time ago, we must be. Do you know what, I'm sure it's not right, but I'm going to have to go Paul Gascoigne.
Okay. Question number 2. Who are the most capped English players to have played in Scotland?
The most capped. Terry Butcher's got to be up there.
Yep, that's one. Including Gaza, there are 5.
Gaza, that obviously makes sense.
I'll give that one.
Chris Waddle. I want to say Mark Hateley, but I don't know how many caps he would have got.
Struggling?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll maybe come back to that one. Which Liverpool...
Chris Woods.
Not Woods.
Oh!
We'll leave that one out. Which Liverpool, Everton and Scotland player scored the winner the last time Scotland beat England in a competitive match?
Wow. Liverpool, Everton and Scotland.
Probably more Everton than Liverpool.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Steve Nicol, but probably not then.
I'll give you a little help. This happened in 2000-2001. Thereabouts. I think it was that season.
McFadden?
Okay.
Did he play for Liverpool? I don't think so.
Only one member of the England squad to play Scotland has played for a Scottish club. Can you name that player?
Fraser Forster.
And the final question. In their last international, Scotland started with 6 Celtic players and 5 English-based players. Can you name these English-based players? The first one is the left-back at Hull.
Robertson.
Okay. Centre-back at Norwich.
I don't know.
Okay. Centre-back at Blackburn.
Oh, Christ, I do know because I buy him on Championship Manager all the time.
And it's not shitey old Grant Hanley.
Oh, it's not Grant Hanley.
He's at Newcastle now.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to go Grant Hanley then, so I have no idea about the Blackburn team now.
And West Brom, central midfielder.
Darren Fletcher.
Okay. And West Ham attacking midfielder.
Snodgrass.
Okay. So the answers to the quiz. The last player to score for England against Scotland whilst plying his trade in Scotland was indeed Gaza. The most capped English players to have played in Scotland are Ray Wilkins, Terry Butcher, Chris Waddle, Gaza himself, and Trevor Francis.
Wow. I would not have got Trevor Francis if you'd give me 1,000 guesses, mate.
The Liverpool, Everton and Scotland player was Don Hutchinson.
Of course, yeah.
You beat us 2-0 at Hampden and we beat you 1-0 at Wembley.
Yeah.
My dad celebrated as if Scotland had qualified, but obviously we were a long way off, as usual. Only one member of the England squad to play Scotland has played for a Scottish club. That was indeed Fraser Forster. The players were at Hull, Robertson. At centre-back for Blackburn was Charlie Mulgrew.
I would have gone for Charlie Mulgrew. I had no idea he was at Blackburn.
And the centre midfielder was James Morrison.
Of course.
And then, of course, you got Snodgrass correct. Okay, so I think you did fairly well there.
I think it was awful, but okay.
Okay, our second talking point is the Scotland-England match, the forthcoming Classico on June the 10th. First question, will you watch it?
Yeah, I watch it. Will I enjoy it? Not sure.
What do you think the score will be?
Probably not as attractive as I would like to say. Again, just going back to that old World Cup thing, my heart suddenly jumps out and I'm going to say 4-1 or something like that, but they're always a letdown. 2-1 to England.
Do you think Scotland have the slightest chance?
No.
Not even remotely?
Not even remotely.
You're not even going to give me a glimmer of hope?
Yeah, we're shit as well.
You are shit, but unfortunately, I mean, when I saw the group as a Scotland fan, when you saw it, you probably thought, Slovenia will be tough away from home.
Yeah.
I saw the group and I thought England will be impossible, Slovakia will be difficult, Slovenia will be trouble. Who else is in the group? They'll be difficult. Basically, the minnow, we imagine ourselves having that tough 3-2 away win, you know?
Yeah.
Really tough.
I mean, as an England fan, I looked at that group and I fancy it.
Yeah,
and
I can see
think
why.
We're appalling. But unfortunately for everyone else, we're marginally better.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've always been good in qualifying, no matter what kind of turmoil is kind of hanging over the national scene. But yeah, for Scotland, the fact that at Hampden is the only thing working in our favour. I can't really see any shining light.
No.
The thing is, this game will obviously be quite popular in Scotland, but does it have the same reach in England? Do people actually give a shit?
Yes, because it's Scotland.
And what's the charm of beating Scotland?
Who doesn't want to beat Scotland?
Is it because they want it so much? Or?
I think no. The reason I love the British Isles and all that is it's more about sporting rivalry than anything else. I love when Man United play Liverpool. I love to hate Liverpool. In football, I love to hate Scotland. I like to hate Germany as well, but
So it's not like that situation we talked about with Man United and Arsenal where the rivalry is so distant that
because there is a gulf in between the two teams now, you don't get as excited. I mean, go back to Euro '96 days, and Scotland was a big game, and you looked at the team, and there were some quality players there, and you knew that England had to be on the top of the game to win.
Yeah. Would that legitimately be the last time that you got excited about the game, or?
No, I always get excited about the game, but in the same respect, it's probably the last time I was concerned that we might not win. Yeah,
I mean, the last one I watched was, I think it was 3-2 at Wembley, and Scotland, did we go 2-0 up?
Yeah, you gave a good account, but again, England were probably in second gear, right?
Yeah, well, it was when you were kind of at your worst, and, well, one of the many times recently you've been at your worst, and yeah, we turned up for once. It was that horrible situation that plagues Scotland now where the basic acceptance is we're not a good team. It's good that we can go to Germany and only lose 2-0.
Yeah.
This upsets me, man. Again, when I was watching the Scottish Cup final on Saturday, I was in the bathroom in the pub having a pish. It was about the 84th minute and I just thought to myself, right, I'm not having this anymore. I'm not willing to accept almost, because they had played well. And I was like, we're going to do it. Washed my hands, went outside, sat down. Tom Rogic breezes past Andrew Considine, our defender, who'd basically had his legs cut off by the hard work and endeavour in the game, and we were fucked.
Yeah.
Same with Scotland. I've stopped caring now. I probably won't watch that game.
I do think if Strachan plays it right, and it's not going to be great for the game, I'm not going to say your defence is world class, but I think if he comes and he plays a defensive game to try and catch on the counter, you could get a 1-0 because we're poor as well.
Yeah.
Not because you're good.
Again though, like the last game I can't recall if I watched it or saw highlights, but basically Rooney, who's been lampooned for the last couple of seasons, was a cut above Scotland. Like he just completely destroyed them. It just showed the gulf, in my opinion. And that leads me on to my next question. Would you take any Scottish player in the England squad?
No.
None at all?
No.
Usually, I mean, we're good for a goalie or two. But
usually you're good for a goalie. But I mean, England are lucky at the minute. We're quite spoiled for goalies right now.
Yeah.
Joe Hart is not in his best form, but he's still a world-class goalie in my opinion.
Well, this guy Heaton, man. Like,
Heaton looks great.
He's basically the Gorham Leighton scenario, where he's an incredible goalie who will be uncapped or not capped to the extent
not
that he should
enough,
be, because of the competition.
Yeah, Jack Butland's a great keeper. Fraser Forster's a very good goalie as well. So England are spoiled for choice, and actually Scotland have probably got their worst crop of goalkeepers for a long time.
Who would be the most recent Scottish player that you would have loved to see playing for England?
I'd have potentially liked to see Fletcher in. Again, that could be Hart overhead, because England have had some good midfielders over the years, but Fletcher at Man United did something different. He was one of them players who at the end of the game you couldn't put your finger on why he made the difference, but he did. With Fletcher, you only missed him when he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But when he wasn't there, Man United didn't play the same game.
So you're obviously going to the World Cup. There's no two ways about it. I think you will beat Scotland at Hampden. Do you think you have a chance against the Russian casuals?
No.
I think they're going to fucking murder you. I think they're going to attack a lot of people.
Let's be honest, right? England had a reputation for fighting 25 years ago, and the people who want to fight for England are the same men.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a hell of a situation. I don't know how they're going to keep it under control. I think given them the tournament, given the nature of their football issues, was an insane idea.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the thing is as well, England aren't what they need to look out for. England are who they'll target because they're the ones with the reputation.
Well, we shall see. We'll review that game in the podcast after the match, so hopefully there won't be too many tears. Okay, so following on from our discussion about the England-Scotland game, I asked you, probably somewhat reluctantly, to make a Scotland-England joint 11. The caveat being there must be 6 of one and 5 of the other. Based on what we've just talked about, was there any great difficulty in doing this?
Yes. Yes. I didn't think it was possible to make the England side even worse than it really is, but I've excelled at that. Yeah, it was difficult to try and balance the shitness.
So where did you make allowances in terms of positions?
What I actually did was I had to look at what I would have chosen as my first 11. I looked at what I would think would be Scotland's best 11, and I basically then had to compromise on who would be the least damaging to drop from the England side and replace with the Scotsman. Which might sound mean, but it's true.
So in terms of goalkeepers then, I'm guessing you didn't go with Craig Gordon?
I didn't. I went with Jack Butland.
Possibly the only player more injury prone than Craig Gordon.
Possibly. England is spoiled for choice with goalies at the minute. I think Joe Hart has been sensational over the years, but he's not in good form. Yeah. I think Butland has been playing very, very well. Tom Heaton was going to push for that. I couldn't justify Craig Gordon when I looked at my defence.
Yeah. And that Gordon is a flapper.
But I looked at my defence and I thought I need a better goalie.
Okay, so in defence, did you go with Grant Hanley?
No, definitely not. So my back four, at left back I went Robertson from Hull, simply because I don't think the English counterpart is an awful lot better. I'm a Man United fan. I like Luke Shaw. He's not in good form at all.
I actually thought you meant Danny Rose.
He's injured. Well, Danny Rose was obviously the next one to look at, who has played very, very well over the years, or at least over this year. But I don't think Robertson is such a big compromise. I think he's probably Scotland's strongest player actually at the back.
So who were your centre backs?
Gary Cahill. I like Gary Cahill. He's had a great year at Chelsea again. He's solid. And actually Charlie Mulgrew. I did go for Gareth McCauley for the first half of the week until I realised he's actually Northern Irish. So
I think Mulgrew a good choice just for the faux headbutt on Kyle Lafferty. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. And you're right back?
Right back is Nathaniel Klein.
Oh, okay.
Who...
That must have been quite a gut wrencher for a Man United fan.
Yeah, but he's good. He's had a good solid year again. He doesn't seem to let us down. I think it adds a bit of pace to what's a slow defence otherwise.
In English terms, no Kyle Walker?
No.
Not a fan?
I'm not a fan. He's a good player. I think he's been overhyped this year. I think he's got exceptional pace, but I think he can be a liability sometimes.
And given our national team's shared desire for pragmatism, have you gone for one up front or two?
I've gone for a number 10 behind a striker.
Standard. At least you've not gone Levine and played 6 in midfield. So who's your midfield?
This is possibly the worst combination midfield I would have thought I could come up with, but when it turns out to try and balance my team out, I've gone with Jordan Henderson for the simple reason that I needed somebody both defensively and attacking wise solid.
And that Liverpool fans don't like.
And that Liverpool fans don't like, to balance my other central midfielder who had to be Scottish, and it's James MacArthur.
I like that you've chosen players to cover the shitness of the Scottish guy. That's quite
unfortunately, that's what I've done.
I hadn't anticipated you going into quite so much depth.
I gave this a lot of thought. I like my football, I gave it a lot of thought, and I had to go with MacArthur in midfield because I needed the 5. And I think alongside Henderson it was going to be the best compromise.
Not Darren Fletcher?
He was a big hero of mine at Man United. In fact, he was probably my favourite player for about 5 years. But for the same reason that there's no Wayne Rooney as well. He's had his day. 3 years ago, he maybe would have been my choice, and still a compromise over an English midfielder. But at the end of the day, he's just not the player he was now. So no, not Fletcher. I've gone with MacArthur and Henderson. I've compromised a little bit on one side. I needed Dele Alli in this side. So I've put Dele Alli out on one wing.
And who is he? What passengers is he carrying?
The reason he's there, I mean, the other player I put in on my wing is Phillips from West Brom. I think he's had a great season. I actually take back what I said earlier. He's probably the one Scottish player that might get into my England squad. Probably not starting 11, but I think he's had a great season, and he's a good old-fashioned direct winger.
And I'm assuming, you said you had a number 10, I'm assuming he is supporting Chris Martin?
Absolutely wrong. No.
You don't need a jockey for your horse?
Unfortunately not. My striker is Harry Kane. He's had a fantastic couple of years, 3 or 4 years in fact.
What was it, 10 games he missed this season and he's still rampaging the charts?
Yep, top scorer in the league. He's probably the only player I'd describe in either setup that's like a traditional centre-forward, British centre-forward. He's big, strong, fast, he knows where the goal is, and actually doesn't take any shit. He's a good player to have around, he can hold the ball up. So Kane's got to be in there. And then again, a compromise. I had to go with a fifth Scotsman, and it's Robert Snodgrass.
Not Chris Martin?
Definitely not Chris Martin.
Not Stephen Fletcher?
Stephen Fletcher actually isn't a bad player.
Not Jordan Rhodes?
Jordan Rhodes definitely not, and he's also English, by the way. He's got 0.
He's Scottish.
Is he Scottish?
He's in the national team.
He's in the national team, but he's got no Scottish blood in him whatsoever. He was there because his
school.
dad played in Scotland.
Yeah,
he was at school there.
Yeah.
He's not Scottish.
Half of our team aren't Scottish, man. Matt Elliott used to be our captain.
Yeah, no, and you've had some. I think apparently rumour was that when Neil Sullivan was your goalie, he actually had 3 lions tattooed on his back.
I mean, there was a period where we just went grave digging, looking for grannies just to even put a team together.
Well, it never did Wales in the arm. So no, going back to it then, Snodgrass is my number 10. Again, I needed to compromise to fit him in, but he's not shown it at West Ham yet. But he's a good footballer.
Excellent at Hull,
yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, Yeah, he's done well. He's one of these players who I thought was classic Norwich fodder, but yeah, he's really come on.
He's a good footballer. He's probably a poor man's, creative attacking midfielder, but he does the job well enough in the Premier League week in, week out. So I've got no problem with Snodgrass being there.
Well, at the end of the day, that team looks like a good one for me, because there is a small suggestion that it might actually qualify for a major tournament for once.
I still don't think it would.
Well, we shall see. So Nick, that brings to the end your appearance for this occasion on the Not Quite Scottish Football Show. So for those of you who are listening and are interested, if you make your way to the Facebook page at Not Quite Scottish, you can submit your own all-time Scotland-England 11. Again, the rules are you are hands tied, forced to have at least 5 Scottish players in there. I can't imagine anyone would be insane enough to have 6. Any other talking points you would like to raise, please let us know on the Facebook page, and any suggestions for content or requests to appear on the show, all are gratefully received. Please, please, please share the show with all of your friends and encourage them to actually listen to it and share it as well. That would be fantastic if we can grow the show. But for now, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much, Nick.